Hi there, this is breaking news, so I'll keep it short. At the big Warner Brothers Discovery upfront today, they announced that they have officially greenlit for filming a live-action Tales of Dunk and Egg prequel series. We'd heard about this for a while, it was on our radar, we saw that on the website of George R. R. Martin's agent, they had taken down the listings for the pitches, not greenlit, the pitches for Nymeria and young Corlys, but the Tales of Dunk and Egg was still up there, so we thought this was the front runner to be the next thing greenlit. I mean, immediately greenlit into full production. And it was. Now, the funny thing is, I've been watching this live. I'm sorry, I'm running around doing this. It literally just ended 2 minutes ago. The panel was an hour and 15 minutes long, and I'm live tweeting it. Halfway through, Variety mistimed this. Variety put out the press release before they actually mentioned it. They saved it as the grand finale of the whole thing, literally 5 minutes ago, but all the details came out in this Variety announcement, so it's already trending for the past 30 minutes. And he didn't actually say that much about it, that people didn't come out. It was Casey Bloys, their programming head. They did devote a decent amount of time to it for a short announcement. If we had Game of Thrones, and we had House of the Dragon, now we have this. He just read off the press release. It's not like Martin came out or a showrunner or anything. No one was there with Bloys. And they said, we're moving for Tales of Dunk and Egg. The only difference between this and what you can see in the... I'll link the Variety article. Only difference is he clarified, yes, we have greenlit this straight to series. Like when Long Night was being filmed, they filmed a pilot, and they would hype up at their upfront, we have greenlit a pilot for Long Night, and then it was bad, so they didn't do it. No, it's been greenlit straight to series. No word on an exact episode count, because they don't feel beholden to a 10-episode thing anymore. I mean, it might be like 3 really long episodes for all I know, or 6 or something. But from what Martin has said before, just to reiterate previous news, Martin has said that Season 1 is based on the first prequel novella, The Hedge Knight. And it's very self-contained. I mean, it's a tournament. And one of the selling points behind Tales of Dunk and Egg is it's easy to make, relatively cheap. But it's a character piece. It's actually some of Martin's best writing, because it's focused, depth over breadth. It's this really focused character study. If you're unfamiliar with this, it's set about 90 years before the beginning of Game of Thrones, which would put it about 80 years after House of the Dragon, after the end of House of the Dragon Season 1, after all the time skips. You're not going to have time skips again on a scale of 10 years or something, House of the Dragon. It's after the last dragons have died out, but they're still within living memory, that, like, old people remember seeing the last dragons that were stunted and sickly, but they're beyond... People are starting to be born who don't remember what dragons look like Dunk himself. And they're dealing with the aftermath of the first Blackfire Rebellion. Now, the Tales of Dunk and Egg story era lasts 50 years. Intended to. He said there's going to be 12 novellas, but he's only finished 3, which are collected as a hardcover called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and he said it'll cover their whole lives over time. The first few are just a few years apart. And, you could buy this as a hardcover. What is this show based on? Go out into a bookstore, you can get A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is all 3 collected. It's also been adapted as graphic novels, which are also very good. I love the artwork in those. I own those physically as hard copies of the graphic novels. They're great. I personally think the first Blackfire Rebellion... People go, we're going to see the Blackfire Rebellion. That could sustain a whole TV show unto itself. I'd want to keep that separate from Dunk and Egg. But that's the backdrop. It's like the difference between Game of Thrones and Robert's Rebellion, where it's like, shouldn't we save Robert's Rebellion to be its own prequel instead of just using it up? And this is the era after that there's a plague, there's a drought, that there's various conspiracies. There's this bastard offshoot of House Targaryen, this junior branch called House Blackfire, and their heraldry is reversed, so it's a black dragon on red. And the Blackfires are basically like, if you've seen Outlander, they're like the Jacobites, where they keep getting defeated, they keep fleeing overseas, building up mercenary armies, then coming back to try to reclaim the throne, losing again, fleeing back overseas. There's 5 Blackfire rebellions in all. So they're like the Jacobites. If you've seen Graham McTavish in Outlander, they're like the Jacobite rebellions. A lot of intrigue, and Bloodraven, who is probably the three-eyed crow from Game of Thrones. that we had heard that they were considering Dunk and Egg, and last week we got the big rumor that they're working on a Targaryen Conquest prequel. That led to some fears that they were going to drop Dunk and Egg. I didn't think so, because Dunk and Egg was a lot further in development. I mean, they even said in the leak, which was in Variety, they don't even have a writer attached to Targaryen Conquest yet. This is like a project 2 or 3 years from now. Whereas Dunk and Egg, we had heard they already had writers attached, they had a series of scripts, it was moving forward. So that doesn't mean there were no announcements in this about the Targaryen Conquest thing, but I wouldn't expect there to be. That thing, there isn't a writer attached, much less a formal pitch or a completed script. Talk about this in the comments. There is no way they were going to talk about a potential pitch they haven't actually greenlit at this, that we're kind of in development on a Targaryen Conquest thing. I had hoped they'd mention we're considering it, but at a big upfront, you want to go with hard, solid things you can confirm you're doing, not a wish list, so I get that. So Targaryen Conquest, that's on the horizon, but they didn't need to mention it now. And Dunk and Egg, what they did say about the writing staff attached is George R. R. Martin is an executive producer. It says he's a writer. That's the big question on this. Well, you mean a writer in the sense that you're crediting him because he wrote the book, or is he actually writing a script? We need clarification on that. Other person attached as a co-executive producer is Ira Parker, who was a staff writer on House of the Dragon. He wrote episode 4, the one where they go to Flea Bottom and everything. So, okay, he's an established writer in this universe is for that. The other co-executives are Ryan Condal is attached. Might just be a money thing because he wanted to do Dunk and Egg originally, back when they were first considering prequels in 2016. That he said that, and Martin said they don't want to do that right now, they want to do Dance of the Dragons. So Condal is on board with this. He is the one who has said in interviews, Dunk and Egg is great because it's a small-scale character study that's easy to follow, easy to produce. It would have a shorter production turnaround time because it's fewer characters on fewer sets. I think you could make Dunk and Egg 1 per year, but on the other hand, you should spread it out, because we only have 3 current ones. And also, you see Vince Gerardis is attached, that's Martin's agent. So, Ira Parker is attached to this, he's an established writer, that's good. The second of the 2 questions I have on this is, what happened to Steve Conrad? They said he was the guy developing the pitch for this, the pitch script for the first episode. Is he still going to be showrunner, or is Steve Conrad gone and Ira Parker is stepping up to be showrunner on this? The announcement itself wasn't really clear on who's making it yet, other than that they are making it. But I imagine we're going to get a George R. R. Martin blog post soon enough clarifying that this was the first prequel series he made. It's the only one that's fully narrativized. He started it in the 90s. Like 10 years before all the Dance of the Dragon stuff. This one is very near and dear to Martin. Will you see Game of Thrones characters in it? Well, like, not in season 1. In, like, the third one, you see child Walder Frey, because he's, like, 90 in the main series. And the 2 characters are, there's Dunk, and Egg is, like, he's a Targaryen prince, but he's 13th in line to the throne. He does eventually become King Aegon V. He is an important character. He's the younger brother of Maester Aemon in Game of Thrones. And they get into they walk the earth and get into adventures. Fans are really excited about this. This is very close to everyone. I'm not sure on production dates for this, of when will it, probably won't come, before House of the Dragon Season 2, but we won't have these huge gaps with no content anymore. That they'll alternate, that during the off year for House of the Dragon, they have Dunk and Egg. So, it'll, like a cinematic universe, like how Marvel and Star Wars stuff alternates. This'll be the World of Westeros cinematic universe, or the WWCU, if you will. So that's what we're looking forward to on this. Oh, I forgot to mention the name of it. There was some debate, Martin mentioned this, do we call it A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or do we call it The Hedge Knight? They went with both. They're calling it A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. We're going to have to make an acronym for that. But I think like when the White Lotus goes, the White Lotus, Sicily, the White Lotus, Thailand. I think every season will have a different tagline. But like season 2 will probably be A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Sworn Sword. So still trying to figure out, well, who exactly are the writing team on this, because they didn't mention Conrad. But Ira Parker, I liked episode 4 when he wrote that for House of the Dragon. So maybe the Targaryen Conquest stuff I would have liked a mention of, but we didn't expect anything. We knew a writer wasn't even attached. That's like the next phase after this. that Phase 1 was House of the Dragon Season 1, Phase 2 is House of the Dragon Season 2 and Dunkin' Egg, then Phase 3 we have Dunkin' Egg 2 alongside Targaryen Conquest 1. You can't do everything at once. We must respect the phases. You have to plan it out as a cinematic universe. So, big announcements here. I'm just putting this out unedited audio only, I'm sorry, but breaking news, I'm going to get confirmation, like and subscribe. There was big news out of this press conference. And remember when a week ago people were saying, oh, they cut Season 2 to 8 episodes, they must be cutting back on this franchise. And I made a video desperately saying, guys, we heard of this behind the scenes. House of the Dragon Season 2 was expanded from 10 to 16 episodes, then cut in half to make 2 smaller seasons. That's good news. We were waiting for that. And then we got, no, there's rumors they're making more in this franchise. They're not cutting back. They're making Targaryen Conquest. I said best case scenario. I was worried there for a minute. Did they stop making Dunkin' Egg in favor of Targaryen Conquest? No, they're going with that. It's just that's closer to development. It'll come out a lot faster because the Conquest with all the CGI. I mean, there really isn't any CGI in this. It's a tournament. So really looking forward to this. Let the casting speculation commence. But good times, and now I have to follow up on news on this. I have just renamed the wiki article on this, okay? I now have to go back and type up and refine the Game of Thrones wiki article on Dunkin' Egg, because this is a huge announcement. After months of not that much news, we have a big new announcement in terms of that order. There wasn't any other word about House of the Dragon Season 2 in terms of official casting announcements, but there's word leaking out, because filming started today. We'll see what happens. So, whirlwind of activity now. Please discuss your thoughts on this in the comments, like and subscribe. I'm going to be making a lot more videos now because there's a big backlog, because so much news came out the past week I still need to talk about.